What's good, everybody? It's your boy Todd Smith here once again alongside my tag team partner Dale Clifford out there in Friendly, Nevada. Welcome to yet another episode of the No Gimmicks podcast, broadcasting on the 3 and Out Radio Network. Dale, what's good, my man?
What up, Todd? Good to see you again. Here we go with another indie wrestler in the spotlight that we hope you will enjoy, and I think a guy that is up and coming that you need to know about.
Yes, sir. So joining us on the No Gimmicks podcast this weekend is none other than the Juggernaut, DeJuan O'Neal. Juggernaut, what's happening, brother?
What's up, brother? How we doing?
Hey, doing pretty good, man. So, yeah, we're glad to have you here on the show. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on into this, man. We got some questions which we'd like to ask. So first off and foremost, pretty much please share with us and our viewers who was your trainer, which company gave you your start in the business, and also who inspired you to get involved in the professional wrestling business?
Okay, so training-wise, I'm based out of Norfolk, Virginia at the moment. I started at a company called Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling, which it starts and ends there. Basically, they gave me my start in the business. I kind of, for business reasons, I wasn't really feeling the way they were handling business over there. I think one of your previous guests, Urban Legend, mentioned the same company.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's, some people like vanilla, some people like chocolate, but it's all ice cream at the end. It wasn't my particular style, so I decided to hit the road. Outside of that company, Bob Evans, I attended a seminar for Fusion with Mark Brava, the Memphis Mofo, and Mike Bennett were doing a seminar. So I stepped outside there, and they told me that I had tremendous potential, but I had to unlearn a lot of that I had learned, picked up from a company. I just wasn't like polished enough to, work and put on like a decent match. After that, I hit the road with Noise Pollution, Max, Rock Richards, and for the rest is history. I opened up this year, in Canada, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. And, we hopefully got the discrepancies corrected, and I'm on to tell them better stories in the ring.
All right, right on, man. So, yeah, so basically, who inspired you? Like, what did you see early on as a kid that made you say, this is something I really want to do, I want to make as my career?
Shawn Michaels. I think, like, that's one of the most common answers that you'll get, but, like, his flash and his arrogance and, you know what I mean? All of the ladies wanted him, and all of the guys wanted to be him. I think the defining moment from that would be the Iron Man match that he had with Bret Hart. I think it was like 4 or 5 when I actually saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I decided at that point I wanted to do that. But as we all know, life gets in the way sometimes. And, I started, way later than I perhaps should have in Norfolk, when I'm from Boston, Massachusetts originally. So I missed the opportunity to train with, say, Bob Evans or Mike Bennett or, Matt Taven and those guys. And I think I would be further along had I taken my own advice and bet on myself early, but better late than never, I guess. And okay, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah, so before the show, you had kind of mentioned that you're about to go under a branding change in terms of your persona and whatnot, but we did have a question about your current persona. So, Dale, what you got for DeJuan here?
So obviously, as we opened the interview, we did refer to you as the Juggernaut. So how did you kind of come up with this persona? Did it have anything to do with the Marvel character?
The Juggernaut, he's known for his unstoppable momentum. A little known fact about the actual Juggernaut is that it was named after a Russian tank.
Okay.
So what happened when I was coming up with personas, I'm sitting and I'm in training and I'm thinking to myself, like, hey, I need a name, I need a gimmick, I need something. And I have a friend of mine who comes to the gym with me, and he's like, hey, what's up, Toy Tank, every time he sees me. And I'm like, Juggernaut, unstoppable momentum. This guy can do fighting, he's fighting. If he's strong, he's strong. Like, he tosses like metal. Okay, I can do this kind of thing. And then I do research from the etymology of the word, and it's, the best at everything. So why not go with that? Because if I don't believe that I'm the best, who else will?
Exactly. True that. So I gotta ask, man, have you ever actually had to use the catchphrase? We all know what the Juggernaut says. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. Have you ever used it?
I have actually.
Okay.
In the ring, I was in a match, and I was working babyface at the time, and I was getting goes to shoot me off from the ropes, and I reversed the shoot, and I pick him up and hit him with a huge spine buster, and I look down at him, I flex, and I look back at the crowd. I'm the Juggernaut, and the crowd actually finished it for me. It was
Nice.
great. It saved me some points with the booker from not having to curse on the show, and the crowd reference immediately.
Very cool. So now let's talk about this past weekend here. You had the opportunity to perform on a show, and you had the opportunity to meet both Sanjay Dutt, and you got to receive some advice from Ron Simmons. So share with us what words of wisdom he shared with you.
Ron Simmons, first off, is awesome. He's one of the most like down to earth and humble individuals that you'll meet, especially for somebody as successful as he in the business. You know, Ron Simmons is the first Black world champion.
Yeah.
And so like I obviously looked up to him, you know, because he looks like me, you know, no offense over there, Dale. I certainly don't mean it that way, but you know, he looks like me. So it's
right.
kind of like when Obama became president, you know, you can look at your kid and be like, hey, you can be the president. Hey, yep. I can be the world champion. I can be successful in this business. Obviously his business has like a stigma for, you know, racism from like, you know, different things that have come up in the news and stuff like that. But you can keep plugging, and it gave me something. Hey, I can reach this. If he can do it, why can't I?
Right.
This meeting Ron, I met him at Pure Pro Wrestling with Jimmy Love. I think it was in Roanoke, Virginia. And you know, he kind of came back. He ran a spot and he watched the matches. And he was like, "Hey, you got a real bright future, kid." And so he got a chance to actually watch me work.
Okay.
And he told me that I was doing like all the right things in terms of jumping in cars, taking advice from the veterans, because I always ask for feedback. And I'm not doing like dumb stuff in the ring. Like I'm not the perfect tactician in the ring, but my matches make a lot of sense. And that is what draws fans in. The fact that you can sit there and be like, you know what, I can see why and how that happened. So Ron Simmons was basically like, I like the fact that you don't go out and throw 50 million punches and kicks, because it is professional wrestling. And when you do throw a punch and a kick, it actually means something. And that's the kind of stuff that a lot of us as green guys, like, we miss.
Right. Okay. Hey, so one thing is for sure. When you reached out to me, I said, if nothing else, I said, I've never seen a match from this dude, but he certainly looks the part. Okay. So Dale, what you got next for DeJuan here? A question that kind of relates to that.
Well, obviously, one part of taking on a persona as the Juggernaut, you've kind of got to look like you're physically imposing, and that you definitely fit the bill there. So what take us kind of through is like how you prepare yourself in the gym.
I'm in the gym 6 days a week, Monday through Friday, from, you know, in the afternoon after work, for like an hour and a half to 2 hours afterwards. You know, and then I would go do 30 to 45 minutes of cardio. If it's, you know, walking on a treadmill on an incline, going for a run, you know, a bike or elliptical or something, because any wrestler will tell you, being in shape and being in ring shape are two completely different things. But you try and match. You know, at least you have the win to execute what you have to execute. If you're going on minute 12 or 13 in a match, you can't afford to run out of gas. But then everything gets sloppy, people get hurt, you know, stuff like that. And it all comes back to like conditioning. So if nothing else, looking the part is more than half the battle, I particularly think. And honestly, it's gotten me booked based off of my look alone. Obviously, like Todd, you were saying in the podcast, this guy at least looks the part. So I take very, very much pride in that. You can be the best tactician in the world, but if it doesn't look like you should be able to body slam me, I'm not going to let you body slam me. So I think that's very more important than actually some of the moves.
Yeah. I was telling everybody, man, I said, I kept on talking you up to all the people, you know, at work and everything. And some of my friends, I was like, y'all got to check this dude out. I was like, he looks like a swole ass version of Nelly. I said, you remember the dude Nelly from the St. Lunatics from back in the day, the rapper? I was just like, just take him and add about maybe another 40 or 50 pounds of muscle. I said, that's what this dude DeJuan O'Neal reminds me of. So now you were originally, you said, from New England, and now you're kind of settling down out there in Virginia. What exactly caused that transition to make you want to move out to the Southeast, man?
Well, I'm currently an active duty member of the military, so the Navy actually stationed me in Virginia.
Okay.
And so I came back off of a deployment. I think it was like 2014, and 2015 is when I actually signed up to like start to train and start to do that kind of stuff. I've always been into fitness, but believe it or not, 2014 I weighed about 40 or 50 pounds less than what I weigh right now. So,
Gotcha.
I wanted to look, the part. So, going Planet Fitness, to get a little bit of weight and a little bit of size, and fitness kind of became like a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia, I just kept taking, orders to Virginia because like everything's here. North Carolina's a straight shot down the road, Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC, which I believe is one of the country's hotbeds for up and coming talents. So like at that point, you kind of got to align your goals and rearrange what you're doing in life to kind of chase what you want.
Right.
There's good that comes without, some kind of readjustment. There's no growth without change, and no change without sacrifice.
Truth. So right now that you mentioned that, I want to mention two names. Leo Rush and Patrick Clark, the Velveteen Dream. They both came from the DMV area, right?
Yeah, they both MCW. They were originally tag team partners, actually, and it's kind of
right.
dope.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Kind of dope to see them both, reaching, their next levels. I'm not sure that the man of the hour exactly announced his signing yet, but the dirt sheets are certainly like on top of that. And Patrick, we saw him in Tough Enough, but prior to that, they were both up in MCW and, and killing it. And I kind of look up to those guys, and my hats are off. But at the same time, now it's going to leave the indie scene with a need for another Leo Rush caliber star. And at that point, you kind of, why not me?
Yeah. Yes. You got to ask yourself that question. So kind of bringing things back around here to your time spent in the Navy. How long exactly have you been in the Navy? And I'm curious, like, if you could kind of, speak at this, because I know you might be at liberty to, share some things with us. What would you say is probably the most dangerous situation that you've encountered while serving in the United States Navy?
I've been in the Navy for 9 years, and I've done deployments, 2 combat and 1 and 2 humanitarian. I got a chance to do some Haiti earthquake relief when that happened back in 2010.
Okay.
And before that, like actually right before that, we did like an 11-country South American humanitarian relief project that the government does. But the most dangerous, they're tied for 2. I was on a body recovery team on the Haiti earthquake where we were pulling stuff out of rubble. So that was pretty dangerous. And, you saw things with disease and stuff in the air and not knowing, what's exactly is going to happen to where are you stepping, who are you stepping on, what are you doing, these boulders, and you're kind of go. And another time I was in Bahrain loading cargo on the back of an aircraft, and we were tear gassed because the locals were rioting.
Oh, wow.
About some political beef that they had going on. But you smell the almonds in the air, and then your eyes start to burn water, and you kind of just like, enough.
Tell you what, man, you braver than me. I'll tell you that much, brother. Do you hold rank in the Navy?
Yeah, I'm an E6. I hold a little bit of power. It's just enough to be held responsible and accountable, but not enough to take all of the blame if something goes wrong.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a decent happy medium to have, man.
I'll take it 10 out of 10 times.
So now, Dale, you got another question for DeJuan.
Yeah, before I get to that, I just want to say thank you for the service that you do for the country. As
Yes.
Todd said, it's like you were a braver man than I think both of us on that end.
Thank you for the support, for sure.
So it's like you are one of several indie wrestlers that we've had on the shows that prefer custom theme music. And what makes it even more unique is the fact that you performed the track yourself. So tell us a little bit about DeJuan O'Neal, the hip hop and spoken word artist, and who has inspired you.
The spoken word hip hop artist actually started back in high school, and I've always had like a talent for like writing or whatever. I actually won a poet laureate competition in Brookline, Massachusetts back, I think it was 2007 or 2008, where I was taking advanced English.
Okay.
To write. this teacher was so impressed with it that she invited me to perform it at some artist's or some author's book reading at a library. And that kind of threw me into the scene like heavy and hardcore. But like writing for me has always been therapy. I can't necessarily go to work and be like, you sorry SOB, but I can definitely like write that on a paper. And the challenge and the therapy comes from being creative. How to tell the story creatively, number one, and number two, how can I get people to listen? Which is, it translates to cutting promos in wrestling, giving interviews or anything like that, because it's like, how can I say what I need to say, make it raw, straight, edgy, and uncut, but also keep it clean enough where my grandma could hear this at church.
Yep.
So, and music wise, there was a group known as Status Quo. I think they caught their fame on America's Best Dance Crew, but prior to that, they were a rap group.
Okay.
I would hang up at the community center. They had a studio, as a way to get kids off of the streets. And I hung out there, recorded some tracks. And like, I loved it. Turned out I was good at it. Influences, anybody lyrical. You go, Jay-Z, Nas, nowadays J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Nelly for, your commercial pop, clubby songs. Just anybody who's making serious amounts of money, like doing what they're doing. That's who you kind of want to look at and what are they doing. And Bob Evans likes to use the expression, look 15% different to be 100% original. So, Duck.
I like that. Now, with you being from up there in Mass, man, how about some acrobatic? How about some Guru from Gangstar? How about some Slain? Any of them names? Ed OG and the Bulldogs. Those are all the hip hop artists I know from up there in Massachusetts, at least.
I forget the greatest R&B group ever created, New Edition.
New Edition, yes, sir.
It's funny, like where Bobby Brown grew up. I actually grew up about 15 minutes away.
Okay.
He lived at the bottom of the street known Humboldt Ave in Orchard Park Projects, and I grew up at the top of Humboldt Avenue, like in an offshoot on Seaver Street. So the connection has always been there. And Boston had, in terms of like creative minds and everything like that, and perfectly honest. And if I can do anything to help further that and get some exposure back there.
Right on, man. Hey, so you had told me that you basically work for a different company almost every single weekend. You're traveling all the time. So like right now, you don't really have much of a home base. Just kind of give us the rundown of like the recent companies that you've worked for. Share with us some of your positive experiences. What would you probably say is probably one of the biggest challenges that you faced in one of the companies you worked for recently?
Okay, so I've recently, last night actually, I was at Shockwave Entertainment down in Havelock, North Carolina.
Okay.
Garrett, Frankie Fontaine, those guys. I was at Nova Pro Wrestling, North Virginia, with the boy. That company up there, that's where I had a chance to meet David Starr and Sanjay Dutt. New England Pro Wrestling for Bob Evans. They're going through a branding shift at the moment. I've also worked for Nova Promotions. And I've worked North Shore Pro Wrestling, which I'll actually be there next week in Quebec City, Canada.
Okay.
3 weeks ago, I did CZW Dojo Wars. Championship Wrestling right here in Norfolk, Virginia. They are tremendous in production value and everything like that. But I would say that my biggest challenge was, as I said in the opening, unlearning like a lot of bad habits that I learned because after some time, man, after you have 50 or 60 matches, you think that you own the world and you know how to put a match together, and your ego starts to swell a little bit because you have a little bit of a following. So I would say, in all honesty, in most promotions has been me. Now, any booker that you talk to in reference to my name will tell you that I'll come in, I'll do what the booker wants me to do, I'll do what the veteran wants me to do, and anything like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They'll never hear a complaint from me about anything, because at the end of the day, I'm grateful for that opportunity and that exposure. But I don't always like what they want me to do. But I'll do it with a smile on my face. But I think that, and I look back at like a lot of my earlier matches, I had a problem getting me out of the way. It kind of translated to I didn't like what they had me doing, like in the ring, emotions. And so challenge in this business that can't be met if you sit yourself to the side and realize that it's not really about me. Like, I'm doing the action, but it's really to take the fans on a ride. And you never know who had what kind of week coming into going to a venue and they just kind of want to relax and blow some steam, see somebody get the crap kicked out of them. You never know. And it's about the people. And that's why we get into the business. And that's why we are quote unquote names or, quote unquote local celebrities, up and comers. Without the fans, it's none of that. So my biggest challenge, I would say, is myself, and now out of the way, wrestling's easy.
Yeah, and I think you got the right idea, man. And you know what it's like to have to be a professional. That's why it's called professional wrestling, right? Be a professional in order to make it in the business, man. So Dale, what you got next for the Juggernaut?
So another part of your look is the tattoos that you have. We kind of noticed that some of them share a commonality to a Rey Mysterio. Was he by chance inspiration for the rosary beads or the sculpture tattoos?
For sure.
Scripture.
Rey Mysterio is like one of the most God-fearing individuals like in business. Like, if you ever have a chance to like talk to him, I only met him like once, a couple minutes, because the line is whatever, but he'll tell you what I need to do to be successful in this business, and he'll tell you keep God first and work hard. So he was an inspiration like coming up, but like all my tattoos share like personal reasons. Like the rosary was to always, if you notice, it's on my chest. It's so that the cross covers my heart. So like no matter what I'm doing, like let me put God first, or what would be the godly thing to do. Now, I curse, I drink, like the rest of, I'm not the perfect quote unquote Christian.
Nobody's perfect, man.
But at the end of the day, I think that my intentions in terms of the way I deal with people, this business, even like in the Navy, I always want to put, or what would Jesus do, or what would God do first? The scripture was actually the prayer from the Boondock Saints, which is one of the most badass things that I've ever heard in my life.
That's cool. Okay. Yeah, because I'm familiar with the movie. All right. Very cool.
So I mean, the meaning behind it is obviously, hey, God, I thank you for being in a position to help people, but let me not cower away from it. And I'll do what I have to do to protect what's righteous and what I feel is right. And the other, on my other rib, the other side of my ribs is a tattoo of St. Christopher, which is the patron saint of travelers, which obviously has, Navy roots, but it translates over to wrestling. And for the people who don't know that story, it's the saint was traveling and he encountered a baby on a riverbank. So he picks the baby up and puts him on his shoulder and carries him across the river. And when he gets to the other side, the baby transforms into Jesus.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why he's a patron saint of travelers. And so I kind of believe that, when I'm oiling myself up or taping my wrist, or whether I'm working heel or baby face in that particular promotion, it's kind of like, let me remember, let me not forget, let me not put myself back in the way and see that kind of stuff.
Got you. So now when it comes to people feeling the wrath of the Juggernaut, one of our most recent guests that we've had on our program here was one Mr. Urban Legend, who you had an encounter with, and he spent some time on the shelf in result to that encounter that he had with you, and he's looking for some get back. So we're curious, man, when are we going to get to see the rematch between the Juggernaut and Mr. Urban Legend here? How's it going to go down, man?
Sitting in a vehicle as we speak. Urban Legend can catch these hands or whatever he wants to. That incident, actually, like I felt bad about that incident. They actually spent time on the shelf because obviously, he's got like a family feed and he's got things that he needs to do. So you never want to intentionally go out and like hurt someone. It was actually a freak accident. The point of the injury, for those of you who've seen the match or, seen the highlight video that's circulating around, was I gave him a splash in the corner and his head actually went back and hit the turnbuckle. the metal part of the
So
turnbuckle.
that's what it was that got him?
It was.
Okay.
There's been several veteran reviews of said videotape, and they all come to the same conclusion. It's one of those freak accidents that it's unfortunate, and like you feel like crap when it happens to you. And like I was on the phone with like several people like immediately following it, like because he was concussed and everything, and I'm like, dude, I don't know, like, and you never want that on your conscience,
Right.
You don't want killing anybody's dream on your conscience. And another podcast that we were both guests on actually kind of stirred the pot a little bit. I'm not mad at him for doing it at all, but kind of stirred the pot a little bit. But I'm happy that, first off, Urban Legend is able to come back and compete.
Definitely.
And even get the opportunity to get some get back. Now, back to regularly scheduled programming. Urban Legend probably should leave well enough alone. I'm not exactly a problem that he wants in his life. I'm 225 pounds of what the hell just happened. So any promoter willing to book this match between Urban Legend and the Juggernaut, book it. And the result will be the same as our prior two encounters, where he'll come in, he'll be a flash in the pan, but I'll act like that CO2 agent and put the fire right out.
Okay. Hey, Urban, the Juggernaut done laid down the gauntlet, man. So I hope you're ready to face this challenge that you have coming your way, my man. So moving on here, we got a question from one of our viewers from social media. Dale, what you got for him?
Yeah, the question comes from, hold on just a second, comes from Vedante Williams, aka VSW. He also he wants to know if you could face one WWE superstar, who would it be and why?
Well, now it has to be two. Right now, Cedric Alexander, hands down.
Okay.
I met Cedric at AML for 15 or 20 minutes, and I watched him wrestle Shane Strickland. Now, both of those guys are on my dream list, but anybody who looks at that match and say it's not like a 5-star match or a top 10 match of at least 2016 is out of their mind.
That's Kill Shot, right? Shane Strickland, that's Kill Shot from Lucha Underground, right?
Kill Shot from Lucha Underground,
okay.
Exactly.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Current CZW Defy, and he just picked up one other title for another major, quote unquote super indie.
Mm-hmm. Very underrated.
Oh, for sure. Sure. Shane Strickland, I study tape of him just as much as Cedric. But like right now, if there was one WWE superstar that I think that I would want to face, it'd be him. Not for the aspect of, fluffing my own ego or resume or anything like that, but like I think that I can learn so much from the guy. Like in the ring, like he literally changed the way that I wrestle. For those who don't know, Cedric Alexander lost 22 pounds to be a part of the cruiserweight division in WWE.
He did,
and that speaks to the man's like work ethic and how seriously he takes his career and how he takes his body and his moves. But for the untrained eye, he goes out and he puts on 5-star matches all the time. But for the trained eye, you can see the thought that matches, the psychology that goes into his matches, and that's what makes his matches actually 5-star. I think that'll take a 3.5 to a 4-star match to a 5-star match if everything in the transitions makes sense. You've seen me work a little bit now. I'm sure I pay a lot of homage to the guy, and he teaches me more by accident than he actually realizes.
Mm-hmm. Very cool, man. Hey, so since we happen to have you here, and we all know, like I said, you got flows, man. You're a spoken word artist, you're a hip hop artist. So you say that you are the best at what you do. So my man, we're putting you on the spot. We want you to bust out a quick freestyle for us, telling us why that statement holds true, that you are the best at what you do. We ready when you are.
Let me see. Messing with Juggernaut, you get dealt with in an instant. My fist are dialing long distance. I'm like a landmine detonated when I'm stepped on. I got them dead to the rights when I see them dead wrong. Most wrestlers like track stars, their mouth always running.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the sound of me gunning. Got them running because they gossip like a woman. I don't know, something like that. Was a quick 4, 5, or 6 bars.
Hey, we put you on the spot and you came correct, man. So it's all good. Hey, so I'm gonna go ahead and toss it to Dale here, and Dale's gonna help us wrap things up.
Awesome. So, DeJuan, at this time, we will like to give you the opportunity to promote any appearances, shows which you have coming up, and projects that you are involved in. So, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you guys again for the opportunity to see me. Reach out. I had my website is DeJuan, DeJuan, the number 1.com. That's DeJuan, DeJuan, the number 1.com. I have a store. You can buy merch up there. You can see events, pictures, photos, catch up with my antics. Twitter is DeJuan O'Neal, just like it's spelled, 2 N's for second to none. On Twitter. Instagram, DeJuan O'Neal 1 at Instagram. Facebook page is The Juggernaut for fan pages, and you can obviously find me on the DeJuan O'Neal page as well. I think that's all of my social media outlets. If I find some more when I share this post, I'll definitely plug them as well. And again, thank you guys for talking to me. I think it was a fun interview.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a pleasure having you on. We would love to have you on again. One of the most down-to-earth, humble, and polite guests that we have had. I kept on telling Dale, I said, this dude's got to have military roots or something, or he was just brought up right, because every time that he ever addressed me, he addressed me as sir. If you're addressing me as sir, I should be the one addressing you as sir, man. You served our country, and you helped protect us, man, so we appreciate what you do. One thing is for sure, we could sit here and we could talk with DeJuan about wrestling all night long, but fortunately, we've kind of come to the end of this episode of No Gimmicks Podcast here. So thank you for tuning in for this interview with the Juggernaut, DeJuan O'Neal. We are no gimmicks, no image, all wrestling, all the time. Please subscribe to our official YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/the No Gimmicks Podcast. Make sure that you subscribe publicly, so that way we are aware of your support. Also, check out Craig Perkins' article, Around the Ring and Back Again, on ProWrestling.com. We would like to hear from our viewers, so please leave us some feedback in our comment section. Also, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at the No Gimmicks PC. Remember, sharing is caring. Feel free to share the links to our episodes with other professional wrestling fans and on your social media accounts as well. That does it for this episode of No Gimmicks Podcast on the 3 and Out Radio Network. For my tag team partner Dale Clifford in Fernley, Nevada, this is Todd Smith in Bristol, Connecticut signing off. Until next time around, y'all take care.